What's up, everyone? Jason Gilbo. With me is Robin Zyka breaking down stacking options for tonight's slate. It's been like 3 years between our last pod, so we're finally back before we end again.
Yeah, no, it's been a hectic. It's probably been like a month and a half to be honest, but we're back into it. We got about the last week of the pods left for baseball, but let's make it a good one.
Yeah, and nothing says a good stacking pod like taking Jordan Zimmerman and throwing in to Coors.
Yeah, Jordan Zimmerman, he's a home run machine. He's actually priced 4.7K on DraftKings, so if that doesn't show you how good he is, I don't know what else will. The Rockies are implied to score 7.2 runs. If you're not paying up for pitching, they're the way to go. It's just no other way around that.
Yeah, and this is an interesting slate because, there's tons of pitching options up top. You got Kluber, you got Scherzer. There's not a ton of safety cheap options down low. So it'll be interesting to see how people go. But yeah, given the fact that Zimmerman's basically he would be one of the cheaper hitters on the Rockies lineup tonight. That just shows how bad he is.
Yeah, for real. But the Tigers, I think they're going to come in a little lower owned. And Senzatella, he typically gets blown up. I mean, he's been good lately, but he also hasn't had a lot of starts either. He normally gets blown up in cores when he was starting early in the season, typically giving up around like 4 or 5 runs a game and going maybe 4 or 5 innings. And then you get into that Rockies bullpen. And the Tigers, they're the away team, so they get the extra at-bat in the ninth. And it's just a good contrarian way to go compared to the Rockies.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And they're a little bit cheaper. I mean, Upton and Kinsler are probably more expensive guys, but this is definitely a stack with the right value or maybe the right SP2 that you can fit in and still kind of get one of those top-tier pitchers.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but outside of that, I mean, Camden Yards, that's probably my next game that I'll be targeting. I love Baltimore here. They're coming off a big series against Boston, obviously fighting for a wild card spot, and they're getting a lefty here. Usually, in the past, I haven't targeted lefties or Baltimore against lefties, but Marco Gonzalez has really been awful so far.
Yeah, it's been a limited sample this season, but he's pretty much got knocked around in every single time. Baltimore, they're actually pretty hot right now. You have guys like Tim Beckham and Manny Machado who are just crushing the ball. Jones, you got Mancini back and Scope. I think that top 5, all the righties right there, they're going to be the pretty popular way to go if you're not going course.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, righties 440 WOBA off Gonzalez this season. He's allowed a home run in every start so far. He's made 5 starts, so yeah, as you said, it's a limited sample, but he's already allowed 7 in that ballpark with a 13.5% strikeout rate. I mean, those are just not good numbers. And yeah, Machado, Beckham. I mean, Jonathan Scopes hit lefties really well, over 200 ISO this season. 1 through 5, they're just extremely playable.
Yeah, and then Mark Trumbo hitting 7th. He hasn't been himself this year, but he's still in a great spot against a guy who gives up home runs, and he's priced up with them too. So I think he's going to come in lower owned.
Yeah, definitely. And then obviously, if Wellington Castillo's behind the dish, I don't mind him either.
Yep, him too.
So I don't mind the other side of that one. I like Seattle. I like the lefties in this ballpark. I know Robinson Cano's banged up. I was watching that game yesterday, the Yankees game, and trying to see him run out for space. It's not looking good.
No, it's not looking good at all. He missed 2 games over the weekend, actually, against the Yankees. I think he pinch hit one of the games. But you have guys on that team, like even if he is out, it's still a great stack because you have guys like Segura and Yonder Alonso. Nelson Cruz, obviously, he's the one that you have to put in if you're stacking them. Kyle Seager's having somewhat of a down year, but he's still doing pretty well. A good matchup against Tillman. And then you pretty much 1 through 8, I'd leave off Heredia, but 1 through 8 is all in play for me.
Yeah, I definitely don't mind like Zunino or Haniger or Gamble, some of the cheaper options, just in this ballpark. And, Tillman hasn't really shown any splits towards one side or the other. 440 WOBA to lefties, 403 WOBA to righties this year, 18 home runs in 74 innings. And I really like the lefties here. I mean, I like Alonso quite a bit tonight.
Yeah, I like them all. I think my favorite one on the team actually is Mike Zunino with his 251 ISO against right-handed pitching. Tillman, he can give it up.
Yeah, definitely. And you're looking at Kansas City and definitely on the contrarian side because, they're not going to really stand out and they're somewhat cheap.
Yeah, and they're one of the hottest offenses in baseball over the last 2 weeks too. Actually, last month or so. But Pruitt, he looked awful in his last start. Gave up 4 home runs to the Blue Jays in 3 2/3. And even the start before that, he went 7 innings against the Mariners, but he only struck out 2 batters, and he gave up 6 runs with 11 hits. He's not going to strike anyone out. The Royals, they're just hot. You have guys like Brandon Moss. He's not going to strike out against Pruitt, so you can take one deep. You have Whit Merrifield, who's just been on fire. Hosmer, Moustakas, 2 of the best hitters in baseball this season. And then you have Lorenzo Cain, who has upside with his bat and his legs.
Yeah, I definitely like the Royals here. They're one of the ones that outside the ones that we just mentioned, I think they're the first that I was looking at because they kind of just missed my cut. I do want to talk about Philly here next, but yeah, I definitely don't mind Kansas City.
Yeah, and they're implied 5.1 runs too in that big ballpark. So it's Vegas loves it.
Yeah, and that's just 0.1 below Baltimore tonight.
I know.
So yeah, Philly was the team I was looking at. They have one of the hottest hitters in baseball right now. Hoskins, 11 home runs in 18 games. And this is obviously a team that didn't have a ton of upside when you stack, but I think adding Hoskins into this lineup just gives him such a different dynamic and how hot he is. And Lucas Sims, he's obviously a former first rounder, hasn't really showed anything. 346 woba to lefties, 358 to righties. Nick Williams, Freddie Galvis, Cesar Hernandez. I like them here because they take up the middle infield spots at a cheap price. There's some upside there. Good ballpark. Vegas, it's right around 4.8, which is decent for the Phillies.
And the Phillies are actually the hottest team in baseball over the last week or so with 126 WRC plus. I just want to point out that I was on Rhys Hopkins before everyone else. I had his first 5 home runs. I almost won a GPP with him in his first multi-dong game in Petco Park. Just throwing it out there. But the Phillies are in a great spot against this unproven rookie. Cesar Hernandez, Freddie Galvis has been picking up this year. Nick Williams, he's got power upside. Rhys Hopkins, who we already know. And then Tommy Joseph, he's just an extra base hit machine.
Yeah, and they're one of the ones where, if I want to play Kluber, one of the top end options, like I like the Phillies and they can still put some expensive one-offs from those other teams in there.
Yeah, that's for sure. They're definitely a cheaper way to go if you want to pay for Kluber, Severino, or the $14K for Max Scherzer somehow.
Yeah, I don't. Are you touching Scherzer tonight?
Maybe in a couple tournament shares.
Outside of that, anyone else you're looking at?
Not really. The Angels are implied 5.4 runs, but I just don't see it happening. Daniel Godsey, he's not the best pitcher, but the Angels, they're really not a good offense. You got Mike Trout, and that's about it. Calhoun's been hot, but I think they'll get some ownership just because of their Vegas total.
Yeah, they could, and obviously outside of Mike Trout, they're on the cheaper side. But I just don't like stacking that ballpark. But I think one-off territory, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, outside of that, Toronto, Boston, that's a place where maybe we usually look for offense. But I think those pitchers, it's just I'm kind of staying away from that game in general.
Yeah, me too. It's Stroman, he could blow up, and so could Pomeranz, but both of them have been pretty solid at limiting damage. And then one other team I want to touch on is the Rays against Ian Kennedy. Kennedy's not really a guy we want to stack against too often. He's a guy you really want to target like a couple one-off home runs, maybe from like Duda, Morrison, or like Souza.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. I was talking on the pitching pod. I could see Kennedy having one of those starts where like he goes 5 to 6 innings, but allows like 4 to 5 earned, and they're all kind of like solo shots from those lefties that you mentioned in Souza.
Yep.
So that's going to wrap it up for us. You can head over to dailyfantasycafe.com, check out our great tools and content.
Yep. Good luck.